Good day everyone, my name is Matt from Aurelian Group. Today we're going to have a brief video on the new Gmail protections for a safer, less spammy inbox, if I may quote Google from their own blog. Some of these settings you should already have. If you don't have them, you may find that your emails are landing in spam or quarantine boxes already. However, it is good to check on how you've set it up and do an extra setting if you don't have it yet for DMARC. Now let's go dive into it. First, what is Google going to do? So starting from 2024, we'll require bulk senders to authenticate their emails, allow for easy unsubscription, and stay on the reported spam threshold. Now, you can control the authentication. You can directly control the unsubscription. You cannot directly control the reported spam threshold. That is actually controlled by how people perceive your content. So you can influence the latter, you can directly control these two here. Today we're going to focus on the authentication part of the emails because this is where we see most things go wrong. As for the unsubscription, if you use a bulk email tool, you already must have an unsubscription link. If you don't have it, very sorry, but you're not compliant. Most email tools like Zoho Campaigns, they actually do check if that is present, and it will be there by default as well. And then finally, reported spam threshold. This is your marketing and branding. If you're not on brand and on topic with your emails, you'll see a higher spam rate. So do keep in mind on that. You do need to monitor it, but it's not something that's solved with technology. That is something that's solved with your audience and the targeting of your audience with your messages. That's not the topic for today. So we're going to talk about authenticate their emails. Now, what does Google says? We're going to focus on email validation. That is the authentication part. And it actually says you must authenticate your email. So this is not you should, you absolutely must. Now there are some best practices. So if you click on that link, that actually opens up another page, and I've already browsed down to the three main elements. SPF, Sender Policy Framework. This basically tells that your server program is allowed to send something. So your email server. So for instance, if you use Zoho Campaigns, you basically tell it like, hey, scsend.net is allowed to send on behalf of my domain. It doesn't tell you which instance of scsend that is. So anyone using Zoho Campaigns is then actually authenticated on your domain to send emails. So SPF is only part of the equation. You must have it though. The second part is DKIM, Domain Key Identity Management. As the name says, identity management. That domain key tells the server, yes, it is not just the, for instance, Zoho Campaigns that's allowed to send, but my organization, this instance of Zoho Campaigns is allowed to send. You need those two records, and then there's a final part which is the DMARC, and that actually sends based on your authentication of both SPF and DKIM. It actually tells the recipient server what to do with an email if it does not comply. So if it does not comply, then do a certain action. Now, if you need more information on this in layman's terms, or at least as close as possible to layman's terms, we have a blog at Aurelian Group, and I put all the links, by the way, below the video. So you go to aureliangroup.com, find the blogs. It's under information and product, and this is an older blog, right? This is an older blog. This is from July 2020. It is still valid, and it explains you how to create your SPF record. Now, a good SPF record is a single record that is of the type TXT. It has one line, and that line contains your email servers or anything that sends emails. So not just your bulk email, also your regular email server. So if you use Zoho Mail, then there will be a ZohoMail.com or a Zoho.com. Your email program will tell you what value needs to be in there. But please do not create a separate SPF record for each of your mail servers. What you do is between the VSPF1 space and the dash or tilde all, you add the include column and then the mail server as is advertised in your mail program. This is what you need to enter. Now in your mail program, they just give you one line. This is what your SPF server looks like, SPF record looks like. you need to take the middle part out of that and add that in here. So you have here server 1, server 2, server 3, and server 4, and so on. A good tool to test your SPF is mxtoolbox.com. And you simply type SPF : your domain, and then you'll find the records there. And here it says, okay, this is sending Zoho.com, Zoho Books, which is the accounting software, Transmail.net, which is used by actually 2 or more programs in Zoho. It's CRM, Begin, and I believe Zoho Desk uses Transmail.net as well. zcsend.net, right? And if you're in the Australian data center, it's au.zc.send.net, and here it will be .net.au, etc. Zoho Analytics can send things out as well. And then we have an old one, Zoho Showtime, which is now defunct. So if you go to MX Toolbox and type in your domain, and let's just do that here. So we go to mxtoolbox.com. You simply type SPF : and then your domain. So let's just do my domain here. It's already pre-populated. I've used it before. And then you just look up. Now let it do its thing. So it's now querying your name server, and here we go. So basically it says here it's a green band. If it's a red band, right, it's red, it's a mistake. You got to check. And it actually tells you here what actually fails here, right? So it's this record here tells you where it's failing. So myzoho.com pass, spfzoho.com, all passed, all allows, right? And then we have the final one, dash all versus tilde all. Here it says, okay, everything that is not in here will be a hard fail. It will just fail. Whereas if you do tilde instead of a dash, it will be a soft fail, which is a slightly different disposition. So mxtoolbox.com is very handy. All right, so if you want to set up your DMARC record, now let's go back here. So the next bit is we're going to tell the server the DKIM, the domain keys identification, identified mail, right? So what we're actually saying is this mail here, not only did it come from a server that is trusted on my domain to send it, it came from this account on that server that is trusted to send a message. Because many people can use a, let's say, a bulk email tool. Now we're saying yes, but this particular message comes from my bulk email tool instance. So this is domain specific and email account specific. And it is a key that is also TXT. It will have a host name, something like a identifier. Here it's the hash marks, but it can be a number, it can be a word, whatever your mail tool gives you. And then underscore domain key. Now, same as with SPF, some domain name services, you need to explicitly add your domain.com behind it, or it's already defaulted. If you're with others, like for instance GoDaddy, you should not add your domain.com behind it. So check with your DNS on how to set it up correctly, right? So the value is again txt, then the domain key, which always ends with underscore domain key, but this will be unique for your application, right? And then there's a value, and the value is k equals RSA : space p equals, and then here is your unique domain key string. And it is a long string, so you have to copy and paste it, and it is case sensitive. Get one letter wrong, one character wrong, and it won't work. So long string. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do, and this is going the extra step, all the way with DMARC, you really should be considering adding that in here. Here's a very simple DMARC entry. And the nice thing is you do not need anything from your mail server. This is applicable to your domain. So it has nothing to do with your mail server, with your main server. What it does is domain-based message authentication reporting and conformance, or DMARC. What it does, it actually tells the recipient server, go check if an email is received from my domain, and if it doesn't meet the validation, here is what you must do. So the record type is again TXT. The host is _dmarc, and again, optional yourdomain.com. It has to be consistent, so check your DNS settings. And then the value, and we'll go a little bit deeper in the next bit here, but the value that you should be configuring is v equals dmarc1, colon, or semicolon, space, p equals, and then you can choose the disposition that you want to set for the other server. What do you want to do if it fails? You want to do nothing? Okay, no disposition. Just let it go. No reason to have your DMARC other than for the reporting that we're going to set up later. So nothing. You can say, okay, if it doesn't meet my validation, my authentication, quarantine the email. So it actually goes into the recipient's email server saying, hey, this is most likely spam. I'm not going to deliver it to the end user until this mail administrator approves it, moderates it. And then finally, reject. That means like if it doesn't meet your standards, reject it. Just do not pass go, reject it on the server, and the sender gets an email stating, hey, the server has rejected your email because of policies. They have to then rectify their systems. I'll come to the emails here because there's 2 email flags you can add. There's an RUA, which is the admin report. Every day you're going to get a report with here's what happened on your mail server. And yes, it will be sent every day, and it will be sent from different providers. So sometimes it comes from Google, sometimes it comes from Microsoft, sometimes it comes from Yahoo. You don't know who it's coming from. The next one is RUF, and locally saying RUF, in other words, this is a forensics. The F stands for forensics, not the word you're thinking of. The F stands then for forensics, and that is if someone actually did send an email which is not authenticated, you get an XML file with all the details on it, which you then later can analyze. So, common mistake, set up too strict a reject policy before testing it. You need to make sure that all your settings are correct. So, do it as quarantine or as none first, do percentage 100, and check your, especially your forensic report, but also for the first few days, check your admin reports. And there's a way to do that. If you can't read it, then ask a mail administrator to do that for you. But you'll be looking at keywords like fail and all these things. All right, so if you want to know more about the DMARC tags, there's again a list here in the MX Toolbox, which is a highly recommended tool, with all the flags that are here, right? So the policy here is the disposition. You have a percentage. You can say, I want to do 100%, or I want to do 25% of my company's emails will be validated as such. I do 100%. It's up to you. Okay, so here's the emails that you can send. And some other optional flags. So what should it look like? Here's an example. This is a GoDaddy domain, so it is a TXT of the type. The name is _dmarc. Note that the domain name in GoDaddy is not present. And then the value here is v equals dmarc1, colon, semicolon, p equals quarantine. So I instruct here, yep, if you receive an email that's not validated by me, you can quarantine it. There's a daily report going to dmarc report at and then the domain. So what I've done is set up a alias on that domain with dmarc report. That goes in a separate folder and it deletes itself after a day or so, 2 or 3 days, right? If I don't want to check it, I don't want to check it. I get every day a new one, so no need to keep it. There's a separate mail for if there's a failure, and that goes to dmarcforensic@thatdomain.com. Why do we do that? This is a more important email because if every email that comes in here, I'm going to validate it. What is going on in that domain? So I'll keep that one for a couple of more days than here, and then it deletes itself because I want to keep my mail server nice and clean and not have all these reports I'm never going to look at. You can set up those rules in Zoho Mail, by the way. So very easy to set up those filters. You can have multiple filters on a single email. Tip, do not use the sender for that filter, because the sender, you don't know who's going to be the sender. Sometimes it's Google, sometimes it's Yahoo, sometimes Microsoft. It can be any of those providers. What you do is you look for the heading, the email subject. So in the email subject, it has certain words, certain terms. plus it arrives to this message, right? So you have a to DMARC forensic, and then you look also for the subject, okay, if it contains these words. If it doesn't, then someone is just trying, if you see have these aliases, and sends you spam to it. It does happen, especially now I say this is the aliases I use. You may want to copy them and say, okay, the spammers out there know that as well. So you could use a combination of it's sent to this address and it has these keywords in there. All right, now the other flags, again, if you want to know what these do, you go back to the explanation here. And by the way, you notice the percentage, 100. We're just going to check everything, and why not? So that's the DMARC setup. Now, if you do want to check your emails that come in, so let's say an email goes into quarantine or spam or whatever it is, you have here Zoho Mail Toolkit. It's very simple URL, zohomail.tools. You don't need a Zoho account. It actually gives you a little bit of an explanation what these records mean on the domain server. And we're going to be checking like MX record, which is your mail exchange record. Like this tells you like, hey, I'm using that mail server, so forward emails to that server. There's the TXT records, which we say here before, is the SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records. So it gives you a brief explanation of what those records are, and then you can actually go here and see what's in there. So let's do again my own domain. And here you go. You can see all those records here. Right, so MX, TXT records. By the way, it doesn't show you the DKIM records, right? So you do need to check those in your DKIM check, which, there's several things here. You can check the registry details, by the way. You can run various checks here. Now you have to enter a DKIM selector name. So remember that we have that selector, which is your identifier ._DKIM key. You enter that here, and then it will return the record for you. The message header analyzer. So if you do get an email, you want to investigate why it failed, you simply copy the entire message header, which is the gobbledygook of the email, right? It contains the email server, the hops, everything in here. Then you hit analyze, and to do a very quick view on why it failed, you just do Control F for find, and then you find the word fail. I'm not going to do it here because it will display some of my email servers or my clients. I'm not going to do that. But you basically copy the gobbledygook here, which is if you do a message and you do show original, that's where that will end up. Now reverse lookup is a very other tools. You have a port check. We don't have to look into that. You have an EML viewer, so you can actually upload an EML and check that. But here is a DMARC report analyzer. Now, as I said before, the DMARC report is a report that gets sent to you every day. It's an XML file. So that's not necessarily human readable for us directly, although it is not that hard. But you drop that in here, and it actually just outlines the topics that you should be looking at. So this is a very, very good tool to check your email and your reports. So that is zohomail.tools. That concludes our video for today on the new Gmail protections that you need to be aware of and take action on if required. I hope this was useful to you. If it was, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. By the way, this channel is also the host of the Trailblazers and Pathfinders podcast, where we speak with business owners on their personal journey from being employee or just starting their own business right out of school or just during university. So if you want to hear about the journey of small business owners, tune in to Trailblazers and Pathfinders, and I hope to see you again very, very soon in an upcoming video.